You're about to view an episode of Sites on EdTech, Zanichelli Venture's interview series with people from the education technologies world. I am your host, Luigi Morino, and in this episode I interviewed Emilie Joly, co-founder and CEO of Zoe Immersive, a collaborative platform which enables users to easily create interactive learning experiences in 3D, mixed reality, and virtual reality. Here's the interview. So I'm very happy to be speaking to Emilie today. Thank you for joining us, Emilie.
Hi, I'm happy to be here too.
Could you just explain what Zoe Immersive is, please?
Of course. So Zoe Immersive is a collaborative platform where anyone can create interactive learning content.
Wow, okay. So the first thing that comes to mind with Zoe Immersive is XR. So can you unpack a little bit the XR experience?
Yeah, of course. So XR kind of englobes all of the immersive, interactive platforms that you have. So virtual reality, there's going to be augmented reality, things we call mixed reality. So basically anything related to 3D and space, and the terms change every week anyway. So for now we shall call it XR, but also now the Metaverse and other other terms will come up in the next few years probably.
For sure. So which kind of experience is Zoe Immersive on? Is it VR mostly? Is it AR on a phone or tablet? Is it, I've seen you're on Unity. Is it, what are the various platforms?
Yeah, so Zoe today is available on all the VR headsets. And we just rolled out early access for Android and iOS as well. And we are also going to be working on the new mixed reality headset. So it's really a cross-platform experience, and it's going to work on any of the current and future 3D devices out there.
Okay, so the goal of Zoe is to make it easy to create content on all of these kind of technology platforms. Is that the case?
Yeah, the goal is to democratize, the possibility for content creation for learning, and also allow, learners and students and new generations to learn those new digital skills they're going to need in the future.
Sure. Okay. So who are the main users? Is it students or is it educational content creators or teachers?
So we do have both. So it really ranges from the educator who wants the students to build content as part of their class. We also have researchers at university who are using Zoe to create their own immersive research project around different topics. So it ranges really to both. The main point of Zoe is to enable people to learn how to create this content and also share it and collaborate remotely as well.
So the main point is that there is no coding required and it's easy content creation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no code required, but if you're good at coding and you're improving in your skills, there's going to be more functions there where you can go further on. But if you're just starting and you have no idea how these things work, it's easy to start.
Okay, right. So on one side, you're enabling students to create awesome content with new technologies that they might not have been using before, and in so doing, be quite excited about the topic they are creating content about. And on the other hand, also enabling other content creators. Now, focusing on the content creators that might want to use Zoe, do you see these content creators mostly being teachers or education content creators whom will try to monetize the content that they have created through Zoe within educational systems?
So in Zoe, what you're going to be able to do is basically create your personal 3D space and then monetize that. So it could be an institution that wants to use it as part of their goals. It can be an individual educator who wants to invite the students, but it could also be a high school student who wants to build his or her portfolio to get a job, right? So think of it as your own kind of personal 3D learning space where you can invite other people to learn and where you can teach about whatever topic you're interested in.
Should I think about it as YouTube and a video editing software together.
Yeah, you can think of it like that for 3D, basically. Yes.
Sure, of course.
And also and we're really focused on education. So there's a lot of things we're working on to help teach, basically. So the tools inside the software are evolving to help people teach others to learn and connect to other things like Canvas or LMS that they're using in schools and things like that.
Oh, okay. Do you already have a setup for connecting to LMSs?
Not yet, but we're working on it, and we're working with educators on, how to do it in the most, like, the smoothest way. But you could basically get, your list of students in there automatically so that they can join the sessions and things like that. So how do we make it easier so that it can be, adopted as well in that space? Okay,
and aside the structural level to which this is education focused, how about the tools within Zoe? How are those particularly education focused? What I mean is, if you're creating an environment in which anyone can create content, why is it particularly education focused rather than just a way to create content that allows you to do so without coding, which is already quite great, Yeah, and there's, it's a great question, because we started ourselves as a content studio in VR. So we were using our tools to basically build entertainment content. But we also started those tools when we were at university. So this kind of brought us back to education. And when we put our tools out there, we had so many educators using them and so many students that it kind of clicked for us that we should build that really for education. And so the way we're doing this within the tools is that it'll cater to the content that you can build. It's the assets that you have available in the app as well. So let's say that you're, building something around biology, then you're going to have access to content that's relevant for what you're building. Linking to the LMSs, of course, and also the language that we use for coding, visually coding in the app programming, is made in a way that when you're creating, you're actually learning coding logic in the back end of it. Right. And so we've thought that process through. So when you're actually, a student is building, they're not only being creative, but they're also really learning things that will be useful if they then go into a game engine, or if they go into coding later, or it can get them interested as well in this without being too afraid of the technicality of the coding part of things. It's like coding made fun at the beginning. And once you're like, oh, this is cool, maybe I want to start to learn to actually write the code, right? So. Okay, yeah, that sounds amazing. Can we actually take a look? Do you have something to show us? Sure, yeah, let's take a look at a video. Wow, okay, great. Thanks for sharing that, Emilie. So I have an Oculus headset, and let me ask kind of a little pointy question. So the hand tools on a VR headset, what are those called? Controllers, right? Yep. They're a little clunky for typing, right? So is that what users utilize to create the education environment that they're creating within Zoe, or are you trying to integrate with an external keyboard? Just a functionality question. That. Interesting. Well, so no, we're using the controllers, but yeah, once you try it and let me know what you think. It's quite
easy to pick up because you're really in space and you can move around and pick up things. So it's actually more intuitive than trying to move things with arrows. In terms of typing, we had long conversations about, how to type in VR. So we opted for a keyboard that's actually fun to use. So you actually enjoy typing in there. It takes a little time, of course, because you're typing with your controllers. Other things that I know are already coming are keyboards that are connected to VR headsets. So you could actually have your own keyboard that you can see in VR, and you can actually just type from the keyboard directly. So that isn't there yet, but it's coming. And there's also hand tracking that's coming. So that's also going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Put off the controller, but to pop in menus and things, you still need them for now.
Yeah. I've tried some hand tracking. That's pretty exciting, but I think there's still some way to go for the technology development before its complete deployment. So regarding the content that is being created with Zoe, you said, you explained there's various type of content creators. Which ones have you had the most up until now, and what kind of content exactly have they created up until now?
Yeah, so one of the most popular type of workshops or content has been the students creating their own content around all the topics that you can think about, but most of them has been very easy for the students to build, like a 5-day, 2-hour per day kind of class, where at the end of the class they actually have a whole experience built, right? So I don't know, they've built, some of them built a simulation to teach Chinese farmers how to unpollute their land. So 2 kids built that. Another group built, I like that one too. One of them has an autistic brother. And so she built a game for her parents to teach them how to better take care of her brother, because she thought they weren't doing the most amazing job sometimes. So she did this whole experience about how to do it. And you can build step by step in Zoe. So you can easily have your audience go through steps and then validate that they are actually doing things the right way. So it's great for simulation and learning. So that is one of the most popular applications today. But we also have educators who are really dedicated, that they have the time to create their own stuff. So they've built, experiences around healthcare and other types of experiences. So.
Wow. Okay.
Science labs too, things like that.
It sounds like there could be a corporate application actually for corporate training and whatnot. Why did you decide to stay away from that with the tool you had built?
The corporate training. So the tools that we explored a lot of different things. Corporate training tools are very specific, and they usually need very specific features as part of the app. And we feel strongly about the mission of going into more of a democratizing and individual users. But it's not to say that a company someone really interested into doing corporate training with Zoe couldn't do it as part of their little startup or company. There's no reason not to. There's business. We're thinking of a template for business presentations, for example, that could work there, or just workshops with your colleagues. So right. This is all there. It's more about us building the templates that work out for.
Would you like to take us through the features of Zoe and show us what it actually looks like to have a headset on and look into Zoe environment?
Sure. Let's do that. I'll show you how the creation tools work, so you can kind of see how you create your scenes and your content. So this is running on the Quest. So it's a standalone headset. And here you're in a scene that's already done, and you can start editing the scene and start changing things within the scene. So there's access to 3D models, and a wide variety of models that are already there. You don't even need internet to actually use this version. So you could use it, in places where internet is not working as well. And which is a detail, but very important. You can place your models around and build your environment. And we also connect to online libraries. So things like Sketchfab, for example, that's used a lot in schools. We've had students and teachers use Tinkercad as well to integrate with Zoe. And we're thinking of other integrations that we can make in terms of libraries, even things like NFTs and There's Canvas, Adobe, all of these things could be integrated so that you can basically get all your content and then use it. And
wow.
so.
Okay, so do you have like some standard lesson plans or something like that that an unexperienced user can like go and utilize to build their first experience?
Yeah, so there's tutorials in the app when you launch it right now, and there's a scene that has different exercises, and those exercises are made for you to, to just get started and try to understand how it works. So in this case, for example, your exercise is to make if all the tomatoes are in the basket, it has to show the text "nice job." That's what this little scene is doing. So you're supposed to be programming that. Like, it's not working right now, and you can see, like, if we put all the tomatoes, nothing happens. And so now I'm going into the edit mode of the app, and you can start adding interactivity in your scene. So in this case, you want to add an interaction that says, if all the tomatoes are in the basket, then show the text "nice job." So that's the programming part of Zoe. So what's cool is you can create your environment, but you can also like program things in it. So basically creating games and experiences and step-by-steps.
Okay, wow, yes, I can picture that very well now. Can you give an example of does any example come to mind of how a teacher might have used it to build some content for a class or within a school or something?
Yeah, and we do. You were asking about getting started quickly. So there's an instructional model that we have that was actually built by teachers who were using Zoe initially, and so we reused that model for the teachers that want to have the students create things. So it takes you through. It like takes you about an hour to get started, basically, and going through all the things. You don't need much knowledge for the programming part because it's pretty simple to use. And the onboarding takes about 10 minutes. So the only thing you need to get used to is the controllers of your headset.
Yeah.
The headset itself,
well,
that's how it starts.
The VR hardware experience for sure.
The VR hardware, and I can show you also, so that's the VR version, and I can show you also the mobile version if you just out of curiosity, so you can compare.
Yeah,
here,
sure, definitely.
Like, you're in the scene, you can walk around, you can place objects, you have your controllers, and then in the mobile, which is just the next one here, so it's the same interface but on mobile, basically. And so you also have your assets and your interactions at the bottom left. So that's just that's my phone, basically, my iPhone 12.
Yeah. And would this be in AR? So basically, like, if you're looking at something with your iPad or your iPhone, then part of the environment is the environment you're in, or is this actually a 3D experience on your phone and not in AR?
So this one is not AR, but we're working on AR. So you'll just be able to toggle AR and then have it in AR mode. And it's going to work the same on the heads, because the headsets are going to have AR mode as well soon. So it's going to be similar. You'll be able to either have this in your living room or fully immersed. And the advantage of mobile is that you can start on your phone and then continue your work in VR and then go from one platform to the other. So it makes it kind of versatile. Like, if you're starting something in your headset, but then, I don't know, you're on the go and you're working on the train and you just want to do something on your mobile phone, you can also do that. And the mobile version, as you can see, it's exactly the same thing, right? So it works the same, the conditions, the actions, the programming is the same as well. And so we made sure that it's compatible in whatever platform you're working on. So there's not too much, adjustment to it.
Definitely. Yeah, I can totally see how it works now. Thanks a lot for sharing this. I'd like to ask you a little bit more about Zoe Immersive history. So how did it start, and a bit of the business side? How did you build your team? So yeah, let's start from the start.
All right, let's start from the start. The start was a long time ago. No, it was about 10 years ago, actually. So I met my co-founders when we were at university. We were in Geneva in Switzerland, working on we're media design, that's what it's called. So it's a mix between a master's between programming and interaction design. And one of us had a deadline, and the tools weren't existing yet. Like Unity was there, but it was very bare bones. So we basically built our own tools to speed up the master's project of one of our colleagues. That's basically how it started. And then that project kind of went boom in the US. So it was on Wired magazine. Like everyone was talking about it for about a week or two. And we're just students who were like, what's going on? And decided to look up immersive technology. And then we met Oculus. That was when they first started the Oculus VR headsets as well, and decided to build a startup. And initially our startup was focused on R&D, exploring these new technologies, making it easier for people who don't know how to code, don't know how to program, how to build things. And we just used them internally. So for about 4 years, we used those tools, which is for ourselves. So we were self-funded through projects with partners, hardware partners, for most of those years. And at one point, we decided to put those tools out there. We targeted entertainment at that point. Education was still a bit early in terms of VR. It was 3 years ago, so headsets in schools, we weren't sure that would work yet. So we were really focused on like big companies like Disney and the Disneys of the world and studios. And that worked too, but we ended up with 85% of educators and students in our beta. So that kind of drove us back to where we came from, which is we actually built this while we were at school. So we actually got investors in the education space. We did a program in Brooklyn dedicated to EdTech, and we basically bolstered the whole EdTech aspect of Zoe, and now we're there. And we branded it Zoe as well early last year. So Zoe is actually a year old. It's pretty new as an education platform, but it's using this tech that we've built for a little bit.
Wow, okay. That's quite some way. So you got some funding first. Was it your seed round through venture capital funding?
So it's the pre-seed round. So we got a bit of funding from a few investors that are based in Switzerland, some of them in the Silicon Valley. It's a small round that we had last year. And I'm going to raise more money next year as well. So
I've seen you are crowdfunding now. Is that what you're referring to, or are you actually planning another VC round?
No, we're planning another VC round. The equity crowdfunding is happening now as well. And that has been really, we didn't know about Start Engine or equity crowdfunding at the beginning, but we thought that could be interesting to activate a community. And it's great. We actually have educators who have shares in the company now. And so it's a great community building exercise. And I like working with individual investors too. I'm also a fan of angel investors. So that's a great way for the community to kind of come in and then at the early stage. And then in March, I'm going to go for the actual VC round after that. So the Start Engine ends in January.
Yeah, right. So why specifically Start Engine?
There's different options for equity crowdfunding, right? There's Republic, WeFunders, Start Engine. We interviewed everybody, and we went for Start Engine just out of preference for the team and what they were offering as well in the back end to support the companies that are actually in there. They do good due diligence on what they put in there, and they also support a bit more on the marketing side. So right.
Okay, by the way, how's marketing coming about? Is equity crowdfunding a great marketing strategy? What are your other marketing strategies?
Yeah, so we work with our partners a lot. So for example, Unity is a big partner of ours. We're on Unity Learn as well with Zoe. So working with those bigger partners who have the audience is part of our strategy. We also collaborate with Meta, Facebook a lot on their initiatives, trying to get them to be better at education in VR as well. So removing some of all the current Facebook blockers that they have, hopefully that will work out. And so that's most of our marketing strategy, is working directly with the partners who have that audience, and working with individual educators. Basically, it started with word to mouth, like Zoe. That's really how it started. We wouldn't have even done it if it hadn't started that way. It was one teacher doing one class, and it ended up with like 1,500 educators, and hopefully it's going to grow more. And we're still in beta. We don't even have the product on the App Store yet, so it's coming.
Yeah. Are you making money though right now?
Yeah, we're making some money. It's not automated yet, so you can't go in and buy a license automatically on the platform. But we do have educators in school that are purchasing licenses today.
Right. Okay. So it's your revenue source is educators in school. Right.
Yeah, and starting in July, Zoe will be available on the App Store, so you'll be able to just directly get your license there. And there's going to be a free version and a paid version.
Sure. Okay, cool. That's something interesting to look forward to. So speaking about the adoption of VR in education, it's not so straightforward how this is going to happen, because creating some content in VR, some educational content in VR is one thing, but utilizing VR content within a greater broader educational instructional path is another thing. And whilst the first could happen with, some content creators jumping onto a platform like Zoe and creating some content and some people consuming the content, the latter is, I see it happen of a much more difficult implementation. I mean, it requires systemic shifts, such as whole educational content publishers and curricula developers and teachers, I guess, or not necessarily teachers because they're already overwhelmed with work, but curricula developers, let's say, deciding, okay, we're going to do this part of the education curriculum with a VR experience. And that's a big systemic shift. So how do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, and it obviously is, of course, just due to the hardware, and it has been. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years already, so it's pretty new for a lot already. It's still new now, right? Even if it's been there for a while. I think there's different things that need to happen. There's the price point has to go down. It is getting there now where it's comfortable, but there's distribution. But it was kind of the same with computers. Like when I was young, we had one computer in the class, and all the students were taking turns getting the computer. And now, most students have an iPhone or an iPad, and this is going there because our computers are going to become headsets. Like this is where it's going, where computing is going in general. So that's also going to happen because the technology is going to shift into that direction. In terms of adoption now, that's also the reason for us to use mobile as a great entryway to this, because there's a lot more iPads and iPhones in schools right now that educators can use, and then have and equip them with the hardware, as we go. So the schools or institutions that have for now headsets in our realm, at least, it's like a lab. Like they built a lab with 10-15 headsets, and then they go from class to class with the headsets, or you have the educators who actually bought the headset and they have them at home. Right. Especially during the pandemic, all of the Zoe workshops were made from home. So basically the students had a VR headset at home. Lucky them.
Right. Do you think that big MOOC platforms such as Coursera, edX are going to have the VR part of their platform? Do you think perhaps are you aiming at Zoe Immersive becoming an alternative MOOC platform for VR content? How do you see this potential scenario?
Yeah, so but I've talked to some of them. I know they're all looking at it. They don't necessarily know how, because it's hard to go from video to 3D, right? It's a different realm. Like video games have been doing that for years, and most new generations know how to use this stuff. Actually, they're born with it, so for them it's normal. It's 3D, it's games. But for platforms that have been utilizing web or video, it's a big shift to go from that to changing everything to 3D, but the tools and the APIs, it's getting there. So it's going to be easier and easier. But we're definitely aiming at being that 3D learning, immersive platform for that. And we're building a marketplace. We're building all the collaboration tools that you need. So, our next interview is going to be in Zoe and not in Zoom, probably. That could be
right.
Fun. That out next summer. So
I look forward to that. But so the 3D adoption is going to be faster, of course, and VR adoption requires hardware, overcoming hardware difficulties.
And educators have they have to teach. That's their focus, right? And so when we're thinking of what we're doing as well in the team, we're really working with the teachers because they are the ones who have to use these tools, and they're already bombarded with a lot of EdTech, especially now. And they can only use, a few of those, and they can only use the ones that are actually going to be relevant. So that's important when you're an EdTech founder, is also try to, really be focused on focusing on the needs and the right tools, because otherwise they're just not going to use it. And if the teachers actually want to use your stuff, then it's going to be a much easier sell, or individuals, that are actually not technological people to begin with. So
yeah. Speaking of which, do you think there is a lack of professional talent that is both proficient in learning experiences and education, building learning experiences, and the technical tools? And do you think this kind of professional profile is going to increase in time, or do you perhaps believe that it is more likely that, well, of course, to some extent, education professionals are going to be more acquainted to technologies, but still EdTech companies will create teams that bring together both the technical side and the education, instructional design side. So this kind of professional profile that is proficient in both is not really that necessary in the market.
No, I mean, we're looking for that. So, if you find someone, send them our way. And you're pinpointing something pretty interesting here, because we as an EdTech company will need to work with instructional designers, but most of them don't have the technology part. So there's a huge learning curve there. But by the end of working with us, they actually have both, because they actually have to learn how the tech works. They have to learn a little bit how coding works and things like that. So they have the knowledge, because it's really hard to build instructional models or curricula around something that you don't fully understand, or at least that's my point of view. But collaborations are also awesome, but it's the same within my team. Like in my team, and that's probably also new to the gaming and tech industry, we all know how to code a little bit. Like, I'm not a coder, but I know how it works. I'm a designer, and and the people that we hire, they have that multi-faceted aspect to them. And that helps a lot for conversations, for collaboration. So yes, and I do believe the big companies are going to look for those profiles as well in the future.
Right,
right. It helps if you can understand what everyone's talking about, right?
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that all instruction and education is someday going to happen in VR?
It's going to happen in the metaverse to some extent, whether it's VR, it can, it can be on your phone as well, but I think it's definitely going to be in a 3D immersive environment, because it's just so much more intuitive to do it there. But there's a lot of work still. Like, I'm not going to be the one saying, yeah, it's all ready now and you can do it, but you can already do a lot. And every time we show this and we have people actually using it, they're really amazed at what's already there, right? And
yeah.
Or what they thought it was. Like, some of them might think, oh, this is only 360 video, or this is what you can do. But then when they go into those immersive environment and they start building and understanding how it works, they're like, oh, I can actually do this, right? So it's more about showing what's possible and then going from there. But yeah, there's still roads until this happens.
And you mentioned the price point being one of the challenges to adoption, especially in schools and whatnot. Although I have to recognize that Meta has done a pretty good job in bringing down the cost of adoption of VR. I mean, the Oculus headset is the price has gone down dramatically. So what do you think is the barrier there? Is it kind of a barrier that like you're required to log in with a Facebook account, which in schools would be a problem, or have they levied this requirement in the case of like use in schools with multiple users? How does it work?
I mean, I think there's two issues. Like, we love Meta. I mean, they're supporting Zoe for many different ways, but they do, I mean, they have Facebook. It doesn't, it's even just a technical thing. It just doesn't work in some schools. So we have had moments where an educator wanted to use that with his students and couldn't because it just didn't work technically. So that is already an issue, but they're working on that, I know. The price point of the Quest is perfect. They just don't have a competitor, which is not that healthy. Like, it would be great if there was at least two options, I would say, because all the other options are also great headsets and great technology, but the price point is $800 headset. So that's harder for, for individuals and education, a little harder.
I thought I bought my Oculus Quest 2 for 350 euros.
Yeah, the Quest is the only one that has a normal, like a good price point. All the others are above 600,
yeah.
700.
Yeah,
so they don't have like competition.
Yeah, they don't have competition.
But the Quest is really for now, the only one we can recommend for efficiency and for the content that they have and the quality of the
and pricing.
The pricing, mostly the price.
Yeah. By the way, what do you mean exactly when you say you cooperate with Meta and other companies in the field? Is it, you mean you're putting Zoe onto their headsets, or is there some other form of cooperation as well?
So we're partners with Meta. I can't tell you more than that at this point, but we're working with them on putting Zoe on the Oculus Store, and they're supporting us in like many different ways. They just announced 150 million for education, so that was 2 weeks ago publicly. So that's great, and I'm excited to see their one-person education team move from one person to a lot more. So that's going to be helpful for our cause. We also worked a lot with HTC in the past. They invested in the company, so that's public knowledge. So we also work with them on the education side, and they have a big education strategy.
Speaking of what you can and can't disclose, is there anything of like upcoming novelties at Zoe Immersive? Well, you have said the availability on the App Store in, did you say July, was it?
Yeah, it's the target date. We'll update everyone as we go, but July for now is like the set moment for the release.
Right. Do you have any other announcements? I was reading a cooperation with Dreamscape or anything else that you'd like to announce here?
Sure. I mean, so today Zoe is available on some of the headset and mobile. In the July version, you'll be able to fully collaborate from anywhere. So that's the exciting part for us to work on now, is you'll be able to invite everyone into your learning space and then share it with just the link. So it's going to be much easier for anyone to come into Zoe and share their content and share their, share their sessions and things like that. So that's coming in July. I can talk about the Dreamscape relationship also a little bit. I mean, we're excited for what they're doing. They're building Dreamscape Learn, which is a big initiative. They're working with Arizona State University. They're a Hollywood company, and they're working on like location-based and learning pods where you can do biology experiences and things like that. And they're basically utilizing Zoe to make it more interactive and give the users more agency so that they can actually create some content. So we're excited about that collaboration because they're going to be implemented in like big universities around the world.
What kind of platform are they originally?
They built their own. They are like an entertainment location-based VR company. So they're at the Westfield right next to my house, where they build they have Spielberg in their like cap table. So they've built really high-end 10-minute collaborative experiences where you walk around and you have like gear and a backpack and things like that. And they're building a version of that for education. So that's exciting. They were kind of like-minded companies, so it's exciting to work with them on this stuff.
Yes, I'm really excited to see all of these developments in the coming months and years. So I'll definitely be monitoring Zoe Immersive and watching out for what's coming up. Thanks for being with us here today, Emilie. It was a great pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, it was great to be here, and thanks for the invite.